So nice to see you guys here, because we thought like we have last speech and we're gonna give it for our team, but I'm so happy that you are here. Hi, cześć, привit. We are Michal and Olga. We work together in Infor. I'm design team lead and Michal is associate product designer. Let us introduce ourselves a little bit. So I'm School of Form alumni. I'm into open water swimming, and also I do acrobatics, yoga, and I enjoy traveling with my friends and exploring the world. And I'm in design for so long that I have learned Photoshop by book.
Yeah, I'm Michał, and as David said, I'm an architect by education, and where I worked for almost 7 years. And in addition to my professional career, I'm passionate for endurance sport, and I spent my free time on drawing, especially portraits.
So here is the topic of our presentation. We're going to talk about metrics, how to measure adoption of your Figma components library, which is usually part of design system. And it's going to consist from 3 different blocks. First block is going to be about us. And we want to provide you context, which we are working in because we believe it is important for this specific presentation. And most probably you also hear that everybody this year in the conference talking about context. This word appears a lot in presentations, so we also believe context is important. Later going to be a knowledge sharing part. We're going to share 2 audit case studies with you. And after that, it's going to be conclusions. So we will share what we found valuable in our work, what we learned, where we failed, where we succeed. So we hope it's going to be useful for you. And we will try to not overwhelm you too much, because that's the last talk which we have. So let's jump into the context part. We all work for an Infor, and it's a big enterprise software company. We are pretty global. You see here that we have thousands of customers and employees around the world, around the globe. And we provide business software solutions. And we provide it for different industries by managing a lot of products. So those are industries we are working in. And we cover all these products in these different industries context with one design system, with an umbrella of one design system. And this is a pretty big design challenge for us and our team. So let's talk about team a little bit. Our team is Infor Design, and we have 3 offices around the globe. We work with Manila. We, with Michal together, came from Wrocław here, and we are based in Wrocław office, and there is New York office also, and guys from New York also came here to support us, and we are happy to host them here. Our team consists of creatives, developers, designers, writers, and also people who help us to operate. Couple of words about our design system. It is 8 years old, and it evolved into 4 versions since its launch. It serves more than 100 components for 15 products, and we have more than 10 million end users. So you understand the scale better now. And here is the screenshot of our Figma components library. This is the Figma page, just to familiarize you with this. And this talk going to be focusing the most on Figma components library. Here is analytics screen. So you see, this is pretty heavily used library. We have around 70,000 inserts in a week, and almost 90 teams using it. You see, we have styles, like color styles defined, font styles, some effects and grids. And why we want to share it with you, why we believe it's important to share, because we found our experience with auditing design system is very successful. And we started first audit in March 2022. That was the point where we started, and we learned that from that audit we learned that we want to do some components work. And we have done it. And after this, we revisited again with the audit. And in the moment where we implemented all the changes, you see our usage of our library started to grow. And we are pretty proud of this. We think that it means that people just value our library because we treat our components library as a product. They trust us more. Library might be more flexible, more helpful for their work. So if it worked for us, I believe it can also work for you and your design systems.
Yeah, so we're going to talk today about how you can use numbers and how you can use data in your work and while you are working with Figma. And we'll go through the first audit where we try to measure components properties and to see how we can improve our components in our library to satisfy our users. And we will go also through the second audit, and we'll tell you how we utilized Figma Analytic tool and what we learned through that process. But before that, let me share a short story, how it started. So the story begins with Olga, and she used to work with components library before I joined to Infor, and she often found herself isolated, lacking the valuable feedback, lacking the valuable collaboration, and she often missing some collaboration that could elevate our design system. So as the time went on, our team expanded, welcoming new designers. And during this period, the concept of design system consumer and design system contributor model was born. So this model encouraged a more collaborative approach where everyone contributed to and benefited from the design system, and where the lines between users and creators blurred, fostering a dynamic exchange of some ideas, insights and needs. And this increased collaboration led to a significant transformation of our components Figma library. And what Olga learned through that process. So she identified that, she realized that library doesn't fully serve design system users. Users are not satisfied with our library. They often have to detach many components. There are not too many variants inside some components. And our structure of library is not up to date with some Figma features. So there was a lot of space to improve our library and components. And after that process, fundamental assumption emerged that if we want to create a better components library, we might want to have a more user feedback. And we need more power.
Yeah, and here I just want to say a couple of words advocating for user research, because we're still talking about importance of user research. It might be still be important topic for all of us. So all the audit work we have done started with one small survey we sent out to our users, and here a quick result of this survey. So we wanted to realize who and how use our components library. And for example, we had an assumption that it is mostly used by designers, but it was not proved with a survey, because we learned that there are also business analysts, product managers, developers who are using our library. Also, we learned that it is pretty heavily used and visited pretty often, and almost 90% of users are going to other resources to find out about components. So yeah, here is the tip, before doing any change based on your assumption, try to prove or deny your assumptions. with research or like user talks. And yeah, why to do research? Also, ask people. And you know, people, they love to complain. They love to complain, and in our survey, almost 80% talks were about like negative aspects of components library experience. So we were like, wow, okay. But you know, their complaining is actually the space we can come in, create a change in this space, and move your product forward. And as I mentioned previously, we treat components library more as a product. So for us, it was like really great opportunity to make it better. So after we done this survey, we realized that we want to make our components more flexible, so users don't detach it very often. We want to make it aligned with Figma possibilities, because Figma enrolled new components properties around a year ago. You might remember it. It was a significant change for Figma. And also, we wanted to serve our components better, so we wanted to make our library more readable, more scannable for our users. And yeah, I think it's time to jump into the main topic of our speech. Let's talk about audit number 1 we started, and why we started to do, what was the goal for audit number 1. We already knew at the moment where we want to be at the end after we are done with components change. We already knew that we want our components to be more flexible, less detached. We want all these new nice features applied. Like, we had pretty bright picture about future components, but we were not sure about how components operate now, how they feel now. So to create this roadmap from point A to point B, you know, to understand where both points are. So with this audit, we wanted to define where is our point B, where we are starting from. So that's where audit number 1 happened. And yeah, welcome to Excel, the favorite designer tool. For me, Excel is like, for me, it's all about love and hate. But this is just great tool for use for like accounting stuff. So this is our Excel file where this audit been conducted, and I wanted to guide you guys through all of this madness so you understand it better. So here was the components list. We put the names of all components we maintain in our Figma library. And here were the metrics which we wanted to measure in our audit. So what's about those metrics? So those metrics were almost, all of them were almost components properties. So we wanted to check, are our components aligned with 8 pixels grid? Do they have components description? Do they have variants? Do they have auto layout? Do they have constraints? Are layers named properly? Because we had many layers, like rectangle, 32, blah, blah, blah. And we believe this is not the best way how you need to call layers in your design system components. And we also wanted to check how text styles and color styles are applied. And we have done also some UX writing review for our components. And yeah. On these components, so on these properties, guys, on metrics, measure what matters for you. Because this list we've been showing, that was defined by us for our goal, but I believe that every person working with design system, maintaining components library, you might know your design system better and your library better. So measure what matters for you, your product, your business, your users. And next step were grades. So after we have list of components and all the metrics, we wanted to put a grade for every single metric, for every single component. So 0 is obviously for a metric which is not applied. 1 and green color is for a metric which is applied and works well. And 0.5 is for metric which is applied somehow and doesn't work well or need to be revisited or tweaked. And here there is list of those metrics if you want to take a photo, like the full list of the audit metrics. And After all of this is done, we summarize all these metrics and we make like component final grade, let's call it. Here it was in Excel. So you see, like, it was ranged from green to red, where obviously red is like very low quality of component and it needs to be approved as soon as possible, and green is the good quality of component. And basically, our main goal during this during the components work we planned to do later was to make all these grades, let's say, more close to green range, and make all these cells green as much as possible. So then we started to do the work. And this work was, we were doing this work for almost a year, applying all new Figma functions, Figma components properties. And where we finished, we had an opportunity to revisit Excel and see the change. So, for example, this is for skip link component, and this is before and after. So you can see like final grade changed increasingly after we applied all the functions. And this is excellent growth because I think the maximum was 28. So here was the moment when we realized that we can make KPIs out of that. And, you know, who doesn't love KPIs? No, being honest, we were really satisfied with our work. It illustrated our work for us, so we can see how we impact our library in numbers, step by step. And also, it was a great opportunity to share results of this project with our team and, of course, our leadership. So how we build KPIs, this is very simple. Those graphs, charts, they're based on Excel data. And you see, like, in February, when we started the components work, it was almost 70% of components which were not using auto layout at all. And after components work was done, it's even a little bit in the middle. After 6 months, it was 80% of components which are using components library. So it's so easy way like to maintain and illustrate your work which you are doing with your components library. And yeah, summing up on this audit, I just want to say that this Excel file gave us so many opportunities, and we were uncovering more and more during we've been doing this work, because it gave us very precisely identified scope of work, and we wanted to we were able easy to break it into like Jira tickets. Also, it made the process of working for every designer much more smooth, because you can just open Excel file, pick up components you want to work on, and change things. You see clearly what you need to change step by step. So yeah, and it was a great source of KPIs illustrating our process, as I mentioned previously. So we were like super inspired by this audit, and we were like, wow, cool, so nice, what we can do more.
Yeah, so the year 2023 has arrived, bringing with it some new challenges. And who among of us doesn't like challenges? Because we love challenges, so we tackled a new challenge. And so we started a second audit where we wanted to find a new way to measure components, find a new way how we can prioritize our work, you know, just to improve our library. However, what do we want to measure and how? So here you can see a screenshot from the Figma website. And this is a very useful list you can see. And we were focused on the first 3 things from the list. So we wanted to measure inserts, instances, and detaches. However, we, on some point, faced a problem. So we didn't know, and we didn't know what's the difference between the inserts and instances. And maybe you know how this Figma analytic tool look like. So we didn't know how to understand what's the difference. And we had two options. We could meditate and think about that, how to solve and what's the difference. But maybe you know it's not the best way to solve some problems, especially with Figma. So we decided to ask Figma support, and again, they were very helpful for us, and they gave us a pretty simple definition of inserts and instances. And we decided to use in our second audit inserts as our parameter to measure in our second audit. Yeah, so here is an example, the difference based on button components. So it means that inserts includes detached and not detached component. So again, we created a comprehensive Excel file where we tried to capture some useful parameters, data, and it was a place where we were gathering some data numbers that we wanted to measure in this audit. Yeah, and we can go through this, this audit that we created a components list, that's what we did before in the first audit, with some useful Figma links, links to a website where user can find some useful information about some components. And I think it's most important part of this audit. And here you can see in the first column inserts for the previous year, 2022, and detaches. And finally, we counted percentage of detaches to see how components are detached often or rarely. And we created a grade scale for that. So it means that for us, components that are more than 10% of detaches, there are too often detached, and it might be a good place to work with and improve our library. And it was for the previous year. So we learned something, and we were able to notice that there are some components that are too often detached. Some components are detached rarely, what it's okay, it's fine. And we could also analyze maybe there are some components that should be deleted or not maintained anymore. And after a few months, we created another anchor points for our data analysis. And it was done for May and for July. So we have more data to analyze. But we only did it for 30 days of May and 40 days of July. But we faced another problem. We had a problem that there are many variables for this data that influence the outcomes. For example, including the activity of external teams, including the activity of our internal team where we are working with some components. And if we take a look on the chart that you've seen previously, previous year was a year of change. So, for example, on December, we published almost 20 components, and it was a year that we can't truly trust and see if it's okay, and we can use those data and trust for 100%. Again, for May, there were more detaches, and it might be because that we have a lot of internal work. We are creating a new design system. We want to improve some components and create a new one. So we were detaching internally a lot. And on July, we noticed a lower percentage of detaches. And the reason might be a vacation time, holiday time. So there were not too many designers that were working with our components and our library. And we realized that we were able to do a lot of things better. For example, we could start working with those data much earlier and creating more anchor points. And for example, also we could investigate more deeply into detaches if it's matter to measure it so in so detailed way. Yeah, and I think that's all, and we can jump into conclusions.
Yeah. So let's jump into conclusions, what we learned from those 2 audits. And first, I want to share with you guys what should you pay attention to when you're auditing your design system, your components library. And this is outcome from our experience. So first, which might be obvious, define your goal. The better you define your goal, the more successful you're going to be in achieving it. Second thing, define parameters. So define how you want to measure your goal, because your goal is more about what you want to measure. Second step, how you want to measure it. What are your metrics? What are your parameters? Third step, prepare working environment. Prepare working file, choose Excel, choose Miro, Figma, whatever works for you better. And last and the most important from my point of view is the step, be ready to modify this file. Stay open-minded, stay flexible, be ready, because when you start to work, you might realize that you need to do some changes. So don't be like holding tightly your working file and your idea. Stay flexible and modify it as much as it goes. And yeah, just trust the process. Start, don't wait for long. And then after audit is done, after work is done, try to analyze. Think about what were your findings, what now you know about your design system or components library, which you were not aware about before this audit. Second step, think about what changes can make your design system better, potentially, after all things you learned. Next step, think about what's the impact of the results on your work. How it can change your work, how it can shape work of your teammates, work of your users, work of colleagues and other stakeholders, and which additional activities you can do after the audit. Maybe you need to follow up with users somehow, maybe you want to do some users interviews, whatever it is, whatever works for you. Again, you know better what works for you. We share our experience. It can work for you, it can not, but we hope that it is helpful. But not the end.
You can never have enough feedback, so we asked ourselves 3 more questions. And the first question was, what we wish we know before the first audit? And we could explore how each side, I mean design and development, influence and collaborates with the other. And we could understand better the atomic structure of some components and our library, because it's also important for library structure and components. And we could try to engage more people from different teams at some stages in our work. And we could make sure that all stakeholders understand why we are doing it. The second question was, what did we learn from the first audit and that we used to make the second audit better? We understood that not all components are equally critical. And we learned that atomic structure and better understanding of atomic structure of some components might be crucial and very important for our work. And creating a comprehensive documentation system is also important in our work, in our auditing and for design system. The last question was, what we will do differently for the third audit. It also depends. It depends on the issue of the third audit, but definitely we will try to find out a new way, maybe simplify it and automate the process. Maybe Excel file is not the best tool for the third audit. We will try to find maybe new tool, maybe we'll use a Figma. We will try also to engage more people from different teams at some stages. And finally, we would also be looking for not only quantitative data, but also qualitative data, yeah, to see it and to have a better overview and have a wider perspective on our work, on our library.
And this is almost the end. We shared all our conclusions, and we just want to say that our company is hiring. If you like our approach, if you want to work with us, if you like design system topics, please go to this page, check job offers, and yeah, don't be a stranger. Add us on LinkedIn. Let's talk about components. Let's talk about design systems. Let's talk about audits. If you have any questions, follow up. We will be happy to talk to you guys. So yeah, and here is the question section. Thank you so much.
It was a long form talk, so we have a time for a few questions if you have any. Yes, there's a question. And another one.
Okay, so I want to ask about, do you use any automations for those metrics in Excel, or did you do it all manually? That's my first question.
We have done it manually, but next time we would love to use any automations,
definitely.
Because yeah, it took us some time.
Okay, and the second shorter one, what was your reaction when you did all that amazing work and then Figma introduces new feature, like variables? What do you do then?
Yeah, I know. So that was the moment, like, because yesterday there was a speech, Louis gave a talk about new Figma features, and he said that they think that for bigger companies it's going to be 6 months to implement variables. And I was like, okay, the last change took us a year. I wonder how much time it will take us now. But yeah, like in general, we started to do this work, we started to do audits, and then in a couple of months, Figma introduced it, like new components, properties, and we were like, oh, this is a lot. But I also think it should, like, we should think about like not squeezing our components library, but think about components and variants and everything more wiser than we have it now, because we might maintain now too many. So now we're definitely in a stage when we want to simplify our complexity. Thank you.
Thank you. There's another one.
Okay, very interesting talk, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so my question is, it seems like a lot of work. So I'm wondering, could you tell us more about the structure of your team, and also like who works on the design system, and also who participated particularly in those audits?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. So you see those people on the stage who were participating in it mainly. We also were supported by a couple of teammates, Karolina and Maciej. They are also here. But it was like Karolina worked on few components, I think, and Maciej helped us a little bit with management of the tasks. But yeah, mostly it was done, like, let's say, by a team of 2-3 people. So I think that's why it also took us so long, almost a year, to do all this work.
Yeah, I think each audit is for 2-3 people to make.
Yeah, and we
it's
are
not a work for one person.
Yeah, and we are a pretty small team also, so like we don't have a lot of designers. We don't have plenty of designers sitting on it. But for variables, we need to think how we want to manage next change. Thanks.
Okay, there was another one.
Okay, I've got a question as well. Thank you for your presentation. I wanted to ask about this survey you conducted. How did you conduct it? How did you reach your users? And the second part of this question is, you said that you want to do some qualitative research as well. So is it going to be interviews? Did you think about it? And did you think how to reach users?
Yeah, so we have 2 levels of users, basically. And users, we are talking about it here, they are not users of our products of Infor products, not like end users, but those are users of our components library. So it's design community from different products. So basically we have around 50 of products, so we have some amount of designers who are maintaining these products also and adopt our design system. So that's just to clarify who were our users. How we did the survey, this was a little bit like crazy. We prepared so long survey with many questions. We worked on it a couple of months. We sent it out. And after this, we were like kind of flooded with answers and a lot of like propositions. That's why I was like saying about let people to complain, they love it. Because we got like a lot of answers. Then it was held with user Zoom, the software which we worked with. Yeah, so that's how it was. And speaking about user interviews, we also had it like a follow-up for this survey. We also had a couple of user interviews trying to realize, do people know how to use Figma, how to use components, how to tweak them? And we were surprised that every single designer or BA or whoever, every single person has absolutely different approach to components library. And we were like, wow, how we can unify it, that everyone understands how to work with it. And this still be a huge challenge for us. So I don't have like any ready recipe how to resolve it. But yeah, thank you. That's a great question.
Anyone else? There's one more.
Wow, so good.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a quick question. Might be very simple, but do you have any system of counting the detached components? Because maybe there's other way than just counting the one by one, or there is some system.
No, we don't have. We use Figma Analytics tool. And do you have any ideas? Or you can suggest any system how to count detaches?
No, I don't just wanted to check because it seems that it's a lot of job to just count them. So I wanted to know if there's other way. But
It is. I think it's a great opportunity for next Figma plugin, being honest. Like transferring analytics data to, I don't know, some other tool where you can manipulate with it. Because so far it stays like in Figma analytics screen, it like not really very useful. So you really need, we have done this manually. Maybe soon there are going to be tools which will allow to do it more automatically.
Yeah, and what is very important that we can't go back to the history of Figma Analytics.
Yeah, and we would like to. We really would like to have an access to Figma Analytics more than for a year, because it's like otherwise it's hard to understand the deeper.
So you can choose a point in your history and see, for example, previous year to see, data from December or May. It's not possible. Yeah. So, but it would be great to have this.
Yeah.
So there is, let's say, last question.
Hi.
Hi.
I actually have two questions.
Sure.
Like the first one would be, do you have any process of adding new design system components, and how does it look like? And the second one is actually, if you implement some changes into the design system, how do you introduce it to the whole company? And how do you educate the company how to use design systems?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so good question. I love it. So introducing new components now is more, like both of those are a challenge for us, like still be. We don't have like any simple way how to resolve it. Because we have a HAS system where product designers can suggest us some components to be added, and then we discuss, do we really want to add it? Because sometimes it's just one product which uses this component, so it doesn't make sense to add it and maintain lately. So basically we decide on adding component depends on need of the product, and we prioritize depends on business needs. most probably. I think this is the right answer. And the second question was about how we introduce changes. Yeah, this is also a good one. Because when we've been doing components work, we publish a changelog, we publish an update of our Figma components library every month, the same day. So designers are kind of, let's say, used, or at least we tried them to be used for the day. Now we publish change like every 3 months. And we have changelog page in our Figma components library, so everyone can go and read it there. And we also have all this information on the web page. And we send monthly email from the team, Infor Design, with all the updates around like design work in a company. So that's also the source how we do it.
Yeah, and we sometimes have some meetings that we can show our changes and what we plan to update in the future. So we can, in real time, share our new components or updates.
Yeah, we also used to have monthly meeting with designers from around different products. And I think we want to go back to this practice soon because it was pretty nice place to introduce all new stuff.